guys, and let's double check if everything is working. And if anybody's here, say hello in the comments. We're gonna say hello to everybody. And yeah. All right, should be fine. So today we're working with a little bit more of a sound fix from last time. We had like an echo, and I think this is because of the guest, so I'm gonna work it out before we have another guest on a stream. Today it's a solo stream, and we will be talking about content inventories. So, and also I promised one thing, that I'm gonna be keeping a better eye on comments today. So if anybody's watching live and wants to ask anything, jump in, say hello or anything, please do so. It makes a big difference. And also it's easier to kind of answer questions and move with your suggestions, guys. So yeah, so without further ado, let's jump into the stream. Let me prepare right here, and this is the one. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about content inventory. I don't know if we're going to be manage to create like a dummy content inventory in the end or not, but we will do our best. And worst case scenario, we're going to understand in this upcoming hour what it is, why you need it, what kind of projects need it, what kind of don't, when the website is too small or too big for content inventory, how big of a team has to be there for content inventory to make sense or not make sense, what are the parts of content inventory, why you need it, and a lot of other kind of things that we're gonna touch and chat about. So once again, if anybody in chat at any point has any questions, or even after, if you're watching this stream later and not joining in live, still leave any comments or suggestions, because it really helps to kind of prepare for next topics and create dummy kind of projects that allow to explain certain topics. So I'm just here to kind of help you out, guys, however I can. Let's how do you do that? Wait, how do I? Okay, anyways. All right, so what is content inventory? So basically, it's a list of all URLs or all content pieces, and for web design and web development, it's more of a list of all existing pages on a website or all existing assets. It's beneficial to work on both, but from SEO standpoint, it's easiest to kind of control content on a page level. So of course, for web design, I think web designers are used to kind of be in control and naming assets, be those assets images or text or headings or anything. So think of a higher overview of everything that exists in the page. I love pages, but that doesn't mean that you cannot build content inventories that have both pages and assets or nested like in each other. So that's kind of short intro what content inventory is. So why do you need a content inventory? Well, when you're building a website, you need content inventory in 3 situations, and that's why and those situations would be before you build a website, when you're building the website, and after you build the website. So as you can imagine, you need it always. But why? Well, it's to plan, track, and update content on your website. So basically, content inventory is just like a easier way to communicate about the placement of an issue and or any plans for any specific URL or place. So without content inventories, I noticed that it's really hard to talk, be them clients or team do you belong to or anybody. Without having like a very good content inventory, it's hard to communicate about any issues, what we're planning, what we're gonna do. So it's basically like think sitemap, but a spreadsheet if you're a web designer or developer, or just think a spreadsheet of all existing URLs if you're a content guy or an SEO, something like that. So it allows different teams to kind of chat together, different professionals and different teams to chat together and, you know, be in connection, and also use the same kind of vocabulary, because vocabulary from different professionals comes with different quirks, and sometimes you need to get used to it. But also, how do you communicate about a specific place on your website? And then, of course, we incorporate client, be it a single website owner or a team that runs that website while you're building it or after you build it. It's also hard to communicate, especially when client sends you cryptic stuff about, hey, can you fix this with no URL, just a screenshot part of the element, and that element is repeated in 7 places. So it's instead of wasting that extra 10 minutes now to locating that placement, you know where it is because you have a up-to-date content inventory. So that's kind of short. Websites or businesses that don't need content inventory. Okay, so there are scenarios where content inventory doesn't make any sense, and those scenarios are when either it's a very, very small website of just 1 or 2 pages or a single page website, or the website is managed by a single person, right? Hey Penny, nice for joining. Hi, thanks for being here. If you have any questions, let us know. So yeah, so content inventory doesn't make sense if it's a very, very tiny site or it's managed by a single person. So if you're a single person, I still like to have content inventories for sites that I have only on my own and nobody else kind of touches them. But that doesn't mean that you need it, especially. Hey guys, oh, so somebody's joining and there are comments. So hey Raymar, nice to see you here. Oh yeah, you're now traveling, I remember that. So I hope you're having fun, and it's awesome there. I saw the exchange rate is crazy there. So back to the topic. If anybody has any questions, by the way, I'm really happy that you guys are joining in live, and this is awesome. Just ask them and I'm gonna stop and try to be in touch. So so continuing, websites or businesses that don't need content inventory are very tiny single page or just 2-3 page websites, and sites that only one person works on them. In any other situation, having an up-to-date content inventory and keeping it and managing it and kind of also attaching all your tasks or plans or audits or any other things to that content inventory is the way to go. So, who benefits from content inventory? Well, everyone involved into website management, building, updating, or any type of other tasks. So basically, content inventory, by being just a simple list of links or list of assets, allows us to kind of make it easier to communicate. Therefore, anybody who has to communicate about that website, doesn't matter if the website will be built, as I said, like content inventory is needed, should be done before you start the website, basically translating your sitemap project into existing URLs and then turning those URLs into content inventory. So basically planned site. And then during the building, it's easier to communicate what needs to be done where and what and how. And then after, because team will be needing to add more content, add more links, create new pages and things like that. So it's kind of like a never going process. So everybody who is involved and need to talk about it somehow will benefit from having content inventory for each website, right? Okay, so benefits of having content inventory, now more of a, like, I started talking about it, but we're gonna continue. So first of all, you have list of all your content, all your pages, and or all your assets, right? So again, I think designers and developers would like to have a very coherent list of all assets needed and used, so whenever there's an issue, it's easy to request a new. For example, like graphic designer provided an image which is too big, and then developer or SEO guy requested a smaller version of the same image so that the website loads faster. Hey Jeremy, hey everybody, hey, yeah, so if you guys have any questions, just let me know. And we are today talking about content inventory. So we're continuing with what are the benefits of having it. Well, you will have a list of everything, and that's always good, right, in any kind of task at hand. Now, the next one is it's easy to assign tasks and understand the placement whenever you're talking about anything. So by having a list of URLs and having an ability to chat underneath each URL or attach files to each URL or ask for edits, and also each URL by assigning different statuses and other information to each URL that is not directly showed on the website, because content inventory is basically owning a secondary brain of the website. So it's like a secondary build of your site in a way, by being just a list of everything that exists there, right? So it's easy to assign stuff when you know what you're talking about. And also for client, it's easier to say, hey, I don't like this thing on that page, and things like that. So, but we're gonna go to other things that are important here as well. So for me, only very small or very not optimized sites can be built without building a content inventory first. And this is just my personal experience. Or there's going to be a lot back and forth and a lot of deleting stuff that you already did and redoing it. So basically, whenever you have a sitemap and you say, hey, this is a good sitemap, you continue with, okay, so let's make a content inventory out of that sitemap, right? So the way I see it, like, you can't plan a decent build without planning it and then having all the list of what you're gonna do in a content inventory. So, all right, and now after the website is built, content needs constant updates and revisions, and that's not only talking about blog posts, because the easiest way to imagine this is to stay in the rankings. You have to review, for example, your blog post, which would be, if your SEO strategy is only blog posts, that means every 3 months or 3 to 6 months, for certain types of content, for other maybe like 6 to 12 months, you have to review it, edit it, update it, add new information. And actually, a lot of websites that are quite big and win a lot in the search rankings, they will update it as soon as there's any change. A good example for that in SEO is Google tracks information on your page against other pages that are ranking for the same query. That means if some sort of thing happens in the industry and there's a new kind of topic that everybody starts mentioning and your content doesn't have it, you might lose your positions. So that's like simple explanation, but also there's another part is company policies changes. Company adds new products and then you have to review and other stuff, like any kind of update that might come from SEO or from within the business itself will need constant updates. So website, as I say, like, is never done. Hence, we need content inventory to be aware that it's never done, right? Next one is, oh yeah, this is a duplicate, so sorry, my bad. And then also, if any other internal or external teams, be it like SEO or UI UX guys, are working on it and constantly improving it, we need a list of places where those improvements can happen. So if you, from my experience, like if I onboard any new client, I will always just start the audit by just making their content inventory. It can be as simple as just copying their sitemap and copying some data from what I can find, what pages they have indexed, and kind of matching it together in a spreadsheet. So that takes like 7 minutes, and you just have a list of URLs. But it can be as complex as actually going deeper. It depends on the case per case scenario, but in most cases that's where I start. And for UI UX guys, it's also like if you have data from Hotjar or similar kind of tools, this is a place where you have to understand what you have and what elements repeat on which pages, how you can A/B test them, and or by the way, websites are not the best place to A/B test things, but you still can. But when you get that data, you have to understand where you can make changes so that conversion improves or click-through rates improve or other stuff. So basically, so that's why you need a list, right? Okay. So if anybody has any questions, by the way, watching this, just let me know. It would be fun to kind of riff a little bit with if this doesn't make sense. And I see by the time we're definitely gonna go and we're gonna use this to build some sort of content inventory. So if anybody has any ideas on what topic, on what kind of website or what kind of niche or something that we should build on, let me know. It would be fun to build something more of a realistic than just filling it with data. And also I have like a content template prepared, and I'm gonna show how I use those and how it affects content inventory. It's like a CMS, but inside documents. But yeah, so anyways, if anybody has any ideas for what we should kind of build as a fake website content inventory that we're planning, it would be awesome to kind of have any ideas from you guys watching this. All right, so biggest mistakes when making content inventory or planning it. So step one is not having one. So as I said, like if you have at least, I don't know, more than 10 pages, you should probably have one, unless you're working alone. And if you're not working alone, no matter how big or small the site is, ideally you have a place where all URLs and all assets are registered, because that will make everybody's life easier. And we all been there with the problem when it's hard to communicate or you have to waste a lot of time. So content inventories and understanding each website's unique content inventory and unique twist, it's same time spent as in trying to decrypt those cryptic messages from clients or from your team members. What do they mean? Because after everybody learns how this particular build is built, it's easier to just very fastly kind of chat and riff and solve problems. Not keeping it updated. Okay, so this is probably the hardest thing about anything. It's easy to say, oh, right, now I'm gonna do a content inventory for the site that we already have, and we're gonna just list out everything, and we're gonna do a good audit, and we're gonna understand the structure and everything around it, and then be done with it and forget about it and never update it. Whenever there's new URLs that are published, you have to add it there. There has to be procedures for that. So usually either one person has to be in charge of it, or everybody has to have a rule that I'm gonna tell you guys later about. So I'm gonna take a sip of water. All right, continuing with this. All right, so Jeremy is proposing we build a fitness coaching site. Okay, all right, this is interesting. Any specific any more details you can give me about that, or examples or something? That would be kind of, yeah, okay, let's do fitness. Actually, sports is interesting. So if you have any other ideas on top, let me know, and let's this could be it. Unless somebody else have any other better ideas, then also drop them there, and soon we're gonna pick one, and we're just gonna try to kind of use the leftover half an hour to kind of see what we can do with that. So yeah, so coming back to biggest mistakes when making content inventory. Next one is having duplicates in entries or not everything listed. So this kind of goes with the first one. Hey Maria, nice to see you here. Thanks for joining. Awesome. So we're looking for an idea what type of website or niche we wanna build the content inventory for. So if you have any ideas, let us know. Thanks for joining. So yeah, so not having having duplicates or not having all URLs listed. Well, basically it's kind of similar as first and second problems, not having one and not keeping it updated. But this is like basically not being tidy enough. So you might be keeping it up to date, but you're making mistakes. Let's say that's the problem here, right? So next problem is not having enough fields or statuses, or not keeping those fields up to date. Again, similar to up to date part, but here it's a little bit unique thing. Not having, basically I would rename this not having enough data and not having a unique enough for this website content inventory. So basically that means that you are not looking at this website what's important to track and understand, and what kind of information is mandatory to see next to each URL, so that you can immediately understand, oh, I can find it here or there, and just thinking about that, setting up that content inventory structure, adding those fields, statuses, or any other information. Also understanding that different people need different things. So maybe there's like a field to attach your files for graphic designers. Maybe there's like a link field where your writer can attach the copy. So like Google Doc or something like that. Like these kind of things, and making it so everybody likes using your content inventory, not just by saying, hey, I want it this way, let's do it. But so this is kind of like one thing. So continuing. Tools you can use to make your content inventory. Okay, so, I list out a few. So simple as that. As you can see, all of these are task management systems that work in some sort of card or task or spreadsheet, line and column kind of way. But anything will work. I actually would like to do, because I have experience building them in Notion and in ClickUp. My preferred personal tool is ClickUp. With one other team, I also work on ClickUp. Also, like with 2 or 3 teams, I work in Notion. Never actually built it in Airtable, but imagine it would be awesome. But for that, I would like to kind of prepare a whole set of dummy SEO website building with Webflow and from ideas that we have. So maybe one day I would like to kind of live stream, just explore and build the same thing on Airtable. But Google Sheets in a way work, but the only annoying part is that ideally each item allows you to comment, which in Google Sheets you can do, but it's a little bit clunky. So if any of these 3 tools is in your tool belt, you're probably gonna do good. The only thing you need to do is create a new database and start kind of working on it. All right, so Jeremy is proposing that we do 3 coaches and programs. Anybody else who's watching this live now have any ideas to add to Jeremy's idea? Okay, so we're gonna be doing some sort of sports website. Jeremy was saying fitness coaching website. So any ideas now? Soon we're gonna start. So any ideas would be kind of appreciated now. There's no bad ideas, and just drop them there and in the comments, and then we can just kind of put a fake kind of situation together. And also, if anybody has like any websites that come to mind that we can use as an example, drop them in there as well. I'm gonna look at them, and maybe that's gonna be also easier. So yeah. All right. So continuing. Who's responsible for content inventory? And when we say responsible, like keeping it up to date and filling it and using it, and well, in theory, content manager is usually the person that kind of should be working on it. And content manager is not the guy who writes stuff. It's the guy who plans and analyzes and updates and assigns tasks. But in theory, I think it's more of anybody who has anything to do with website performance is responsible for it. So that's the way I like to look at it. So basically, if you're a developer or designer or website owner or SEO or content manager, and if you have, the more people you have working together with you, the more you all are kind of responsible. But of course, with responsibility, there's this thing: somebody has to be the main owner of the problem, and so each team should pick their own kind of person. I assume it should be from somebody who looks like at strategical website building. So it might be like content manager, it might be SEO. It depends on the team, but pick one. I would say pick one person who will be the one who's really taking care of it. But then everybody else who touches the website should also understand that there are principles that we have to work on, and there are procedures that they have to follow if they create new URLs or change assets or stuff like that. So, parts of content inventory. Take this part with a grain of salt, because, well, it's unique for each case. So you have to think of how a list of URLs or assets would help me and my team to be more productive, and also to kind of be more specific and strategic in the way we build a site or grow the site or do anything to the site. So stakeholders and all people that touch the website have a place to kind of check what's happening and ask questions and get answers and communicate and stuff like that. So, okay, so here we start with the first kind of thing, which is it a URL or an asset? I like URL as in a page, but there might be, especially if you're using one of those task management systems that allow you to kind of easily attach multiple layers of subtasks or checklists or anything, you can also add assets. So basically, if you have asset content inventory, it's harder to scale up than if you have a content inventory of URLs and then you subdivide it into assets. So I would say always go with a URL, but that doesn't mean that I'm right. Maybe some situations this is better. All right, so content type, adding content type to your content inventory as one of the parts is awesome. So, all right, so content type would be, for example, this example. I took it from one of the from one of the projects that I'm working, and we just have all possible. I think you guys don't see it very well because it's a little bit of glitchy. Hey Colin, thanks for coming. So yeah. So continuing, content type, for example. So these are, I don't think you guys see it good. Next time I'm gonna prepare it better. But there's like listicle, how-to, tutorial, guide, cheat sheet, checklist, case study, rewrite, as in there is some sort of content but it has to be restructured. Just news update, feature focus, as in just, one of the marketing parts of the website, or comparison, resources, frequently asked questions. This again could be a URL, could be just an asset, so and there's other stuff, a hub, or just a guest post, as in somebody else is publishing on your website. Jeremy sees, they can see it. Okay, so yeah, that's awesome. So feature group is kind of the same as hub. So this is one project I was working on, and these are like the main kind of types of content we had, and each one of those had some sort of either one or a few templates that we use for it. I'm gonna touch that later. So content type. So that's an example of how that would look. Basically, what type of content is it? It can be attached to as simple as just 4 search intents, and that's that. It can be attached to something else. That being said, content code is a cool thing that I like. So just as you would have asset codes, as in specific naming conventions for specific assets to keep it organized. Especially if somebody manages content or orders it from writers, or there's like a chain of command happening, content code is mandatory to kind of track of statuses of different tasks within content inventory. So those can be per URL. There could be content code per URL, or there can be content code per task. It depends, but any kind of naming convention would be awesome, and I use some. Depends on what part of the things I do for that project. All right, page type. So here, think if you guys are Webflowers, and most of you in the chat, at least I see, are, page type is literally like, is it which CMS collection it belongs to, or is it a static page? Then it's a static page. So think of that. But there can be more accurate or more unique kind of ways to put it, but like very simplistic. If you're building on Webflow, think which CMS it belongs to, as simple as that. So it's easy to organize that data, right? Template type, well, so you can think of it from two ways. You can think content template, which is something I'm showing you here. This is like a template for a listicle that lists out best something, right? So these are, I use, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. So this is a content type that I use, and if you look at the kind of outline of it, it's just kind of structure that we're gonna use for each one of these, each content pieces that we will produce. So that could be template for content, and there could be template for, as in web page template. So for example, you have a CMS that has like a little bit, some elements turn on and turn off based on needs of SEO or the length of content or section needs or stuff like that. So let's say you made a CMS that has like radio buttons, and you can turn on and turn off sections, or make it longer or shorter, or just switch templates of the page itself by hiding or removing elements with any way you create it. So then this field could manipulate it. So this could split into two things. Like for the different teams might have different ways to build similar stuff. So think about that. All right, so content name, well, it's just as simple as task name, of course, we're gonna not, and then status, other status, more status, statuses, and then other data. So basically, I ended this was a kind of tiny joke, but think of it as in, all right, all the content, all the phases that URL will go through, think about them and just add them. This is like a checklist of statuses of one of the projects we work on. It's more of a content base, but if you're like a designer or developer, think about what kind of parts every task, or let's even say better, every URL has to go through to reach the end and to be approved. So and split them, and there can never be too many, there can be only too little to kind of be very understand what's happening. So yeah, and another kind of last thing I'm gonna add before we jump into the next stuff, where I said, wait, where was it? So when there was like content type, I had like another thing prepared from one of the projects, which was, so for example, this is how we were tracking CMS template, as in CMS collection that we're using. And this particular project had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different collections. And we were just tracking which URL belongs to which one. And then we would communicate about specific URL, not the collection itself. So that's like the way to kind of think about it. All right, and let's, last thing before we jump in and start trying this out and seeing this in action, is step-by-step guide of making content inventory. So it's basically, if this website is not built, it's as simple as you have a sitemap. Sitemap is approved. This is how it's gonna be. Okay, cool. Now just turn every part of the sitemap, every URL, into card tasks, card or task, whichever platform you're using, or just a line in a spreadsheet. But you know, so basically just have a list of all those things, not in a tree as a sitemap usually is, but more of a in a list, right? And then start adding other info. So yeah, that's as simple as that. Maintaining it is another problem, and it depends on the team. And I have this kind of rule that with my teams that I've been working with, we have, which kind of helps a little bit, is like, if anybody ever creates a new URL, you always add it to the list. That's it. You don't need to fill in other fields. We can work it out later, but we have to have a list of active URLs. So basically, rule is like this: have one field that is mandatory to fill every time you take certain action, because people can be daunting. It can be daunting to fill in, 20, 30 fields whenever you create a new, especially for teams that are just adopting this. But it's never daunting to say, hey man, if you create a new URL, please just type it in here, press enter, and then you can continue, right? So, because somebody else might be in charge of it and will review it and add the important information. All right, guys. So that's the theory. Now let's see it in practice. So if anybody has any ideas while we're doing this, please let me know, or questions. I'll try to I don't know where this is going. We have like 4 minutes left roughly. We might take it a little bit longer, but let's see. So Jeremy was proposing that we should make a fitness coaching site. If anybody has like an idea of site that exists and that they like, or they build, or their friends build, or something, you can drop it in the comments. But if not, then we will just create it, on a spot. So, and then there was another kind of factor into it, say 3 coaches and programs, 5 programs. Okay, so let's build a quick sitemap for that. All right, so let's build a quick sitemap for that. So we would have all right, so we would always have homepage, right? And then we would have, in this case, we would have a CMS, which is called Coaches, right? And then we would have a CMS called Programs, right? And then we would have elements below, which are, well, actually, it would be like this. So program coach. Did I just did that? Nope. All right, so we would have this. Now to create, now to create more control. And if anybody has ideas while I'm doing this, let me know. Let's riff or questions. So here for SEO, probably you would need a category for programs. And to make it simple, a category for coaches. So yeah, all right. So, and here let's add, all right, so any ideas if anybody's watching this this thing, for what kind of programs or what kind of stuff we're doing here, but I'm gonna in the meanwhile try to create this as we go. So let's say here we have, actually in this scenario there's probably one category. So, and it's probably sports. Yeah, so this would be like a category that categorizes both coaches and programs into, so we have, instead of 2 categories like always, there's one, which would be sport. Okay, so let's say we have, let's focus first on sports. So, all right, so Colin says sorry if I butcher your name, body weight versus cardio. Okay, that's an idea. So I was thinking more of a, let's say, swimming, right? But that's a good kind of thing. So swimming, we have gym probably, right? Then you could have like two different basically health benefits, right? So here you would take another category, which would be health, and then it would be health benefits, or some sort of, and then you can split it into cardio, body weight, which actually is a good tagging. So this would be like the main category, and this would be more of a like a tagging way to tag stuff. But yeah, okay. So let's say gym. So what else we could have? Like running, right? I don't know. We could have like yoga. Whoop. We could have anybody has any other ideas? Drop it in the comments. And yeah, okay, so I like that idea. Let's try to do it. So this is not well researched. I would probably need to come up after spending a few days on it with something better, but just let's say here we have, so we have health, and then we would have body weight, and where we have the suggestion was cardio. Let's make losing weight, and then cardio, and then we have, I don't know, strength building. Just make it strength. I always mistype this word, and I know it. All right, and then let's add one more sport. In this case, running. Yoga, running, gym. What else is there? What else people do? I don't know. Climbing. Let's make it that way. So now coach, we're just gonna make this simple. So let's make this simple and just make, you know, Coach Adam. And then right, that's very simple. Any other ideas, guys? Let me know. And then program. So let's make Wednesday. I sound bad at spelling. I can't believe I'm getting paid to write. So Wednesday, weight lifting, right? Something like that. Then we have Tuesday morning swim. I don't know, just coming. And then we have Sunday evening yoga, something like that. Does anybody have any questions what I'm doing here, or let me know. So we have that, we have homepage. These are the CMSs we would have. Oh, and let's add something to kind of spice it up. Like children climbing. What he is saying, Wednesday, it's a devil world. So yeah, so kids, let's call it, I don't know, simpler maybe. Okay, so that, and then because no website, so we would have /contact, because of course we would. By the way, this can become just this. We would have /contact / I don't know, privacy policy, right? And for the sake, any other ideas, let me know. If not, then just what else is always on the website? About us, completely. Oh, actually, there should be another CMS here. So while we're at it, so yeah, this is kind of obvious. So let's say pool one. Here I'm just gonna make it simple without actually adding any addresses. So it's just like pool one, gym one, and then yeah, outside. I don't know. Okay, so yeah, so we have like a simple, I don't know, sitemap of some sort of fake sports website. I'm gonna take this out and just gonna copy this real quick into the content inventory. So we go here. I have some. Well, this is not up to date. I just made a very quick few statuses. We're gonna zoom in a little bit. So Colin is saying, I don't know if you guys see it, full of it. Yeah, I'm gonna just, whoops, not this one. So, what happens when you start needing to associate content across the stack instead of vertical, as in coach who specializes in specific sport? Yeah, well, there's like, everything has to be connected. I'm not sure I follow if you kind of phrase this into a question. I would kind of love to dig deep, or if not, then next stream. This might be an interesting topic. I think I know what you're asking, but not necessarily maybe got it. But yeah, I would say first gut feeling is saying, yes, everything has to be linked with everything. But also, yeah, if you rephrase this into some sort of specific question, that might be kind of interesting to either answer now or maybe next time, then have a on its own like a stream, because I think we're going to be using this website more and more. So yeah, so if you just let me know, let's chat about it. Sure, why not? If not here, then on Twitter. If not on Twitter, then on next stream. So coming back, all right, so we're just gonna do a simple thing. Oh, so, okay, so it was fast. So how would you visualize that kind of relationship in inventory like that? And the relationship we were talking about when you have to associate. All right, so there's either roll-up fields you use for that, right? By the way, thanks Jeremy for coming. Yeah, finish this whenever you can, and it was awesome. You stayed almost to the end. It's cool, man. See you around. So yeah, so continuing on this, yeah, there's either roll-up fields, and actually this is a good example, so we're gonna try to push it real quick, but for that I first have to create the inventory, okay? So let's try not to forget this one. All right, so coming back to the problem at hand, we have this, and we just gonna make two, with the zoom, no, we're not gonna use from a library, and we're just gonna create am I tripping right now? I have to okay. That's what was tripping. Okay, cool. So let's make it as simple, a few fields like we said. All right, so step one, we're just gonna add usually text and just call it slug, right? Because sometimes we just want to link to stuff by just using the slug. And then we're just gonna make a simple, where is it? Where are you? Oh yeah, this one, the last one. Okay, so link. And then we're just gonna make, for this scenario, we're just gonna make, we can make a relationship, and let's make it with this. I cannot make it with the same list. Okay, well, anyways, let's start with the, just gonna try to do this real quick. Okay, so it's homepage. Then we have, you know what? We're gonna, to save time, just gonna do, oops. My mouse is glitching. No, please don't do that, mouse. I hate using keyboard for copying stuff. Mouse. All right. I hate to do that. Okay. Well, anyways. So first things first, we're gonna just add, oh, this one should not be here. Yeah. Actually, it could be here because it's a static page in Webflow. So first things first, we're gonna just add all the pages we have. And it's probably the most boring thing ever. And it can be automatized like everything in life. But I like to do that by hand. All right, so you would just do that. Probably the only thing you guys are hearing is my keyboard, but yeah. All right, so that, then we have almost there, bear with me. All right, so this, this, so in this case, I'm just using slugs as the name, but of course you could just name these names, like have logical names, as in instead, yeah, like here, like homepage. But just for the speed, we're gonna do it this way. Yeah, okay, so we have all the URLs. We're just gonna remove a few fields. And of course, we would just copy this into here. And we would add a link, so and then that's that, right? So this is how we would do it. You know what? Yeah, okay, anyways. My mouse is glitching. I so hate when I have to do it by hand. Oops. All right, so you would just have a list of all the links in your website. And this is kind of straightforward, so we're not going to do it. And of course, you would do the copying the URL and then just adding at the end the slug. So that's the most basic information you would need, right? But now the next step is to start adding any other relevant information. So for this example, let's make a drop down, call it CMS, and then just let's add those CMSs that we had. So first of all, there's static page, right, which is no CMS. Then we had a CMS which was called health, right? Then we had a CMS called sport. Then we had a CMS called coach. Then we had a CMS called program, right? And then we had a CMS called locations. And that's pretty much it, right? We could color this, and it's as simple as just, you know, adding these to correct. So that like conveys some information. You can sort data by that, right? So that's and this, by the way, okay, so this is static. This is static because it's just the page for showing all the items hypothetically, right? Like something like the coaches and stuff like that. So yeah, now adding other stuff. I think like in theory you should be able to roll up stuff, but I don't get why. And I definitely use this with some sort of, maybe on ClickUp it's just a workaround, but on Notion you for sure, I know because I used it on multiple projects. So to answer the question you had was how to visualize relationship. So define relationship in this scenario, but yeah, you could just use a roll-up field and just allow to tag things from the same content inventory, right? So that would be one of the ways. Another way is, so I had a situation where I had to track what we are linking inside the body content, which other pages we're linking, because then you can identify some SEO mistakes, right? So then I would have a roll-up field that allows me to tag everything, and whenever I add those links into the page, I would add it to the same field. So there would be next to each of these, there would be a field that shows like 10, 20, up to 30 or something other pages that are being linked in there, because the problem with SEO is sometimes you have to come back and remove to improve things, and you have to understand what's happening there, and it's easier to do an overall. Yeah, and then if we come back to our kind of thing that we were chatting about, so we had different types of stuff that we would be using. So here you would start developing things. So most systems will allow you to kind of have some sort of a just status for the task itself, and of course will allow you to have fields and descriptions and add links and add relationships and also to-do lists and checklists, and even add subtasks. This is where I would add components if we need to. So if we want to subdivide this into components, then we subdivide it into components and other stuff. But most importantly, can chat and you know, tag people and send them updates. So then you have to always like teach your clients or anybody to be like, hey, just if you ever have an issue, find the correct link that this is in this list, and then just comment there. So somebody says, hey, here, because most people don't understand how the architecture of this website works and how it was built, and they just don't know where to go. Because as you can guess, some of these issues, for example, can be solved by just knowing which CMS it belongs to. For example, a design edit, but it will affect multiple pages. And if for content team, it's the opposite. Some of the things are very unique. So for example, this content piece that would be here, the text that it's there, if you want to fix a spelling mistake there, you have to go specifically to it. And so just this is a way kind of to ease out communication between people, right? And then you could create different drop downs. I don't know, let's make something like, oh, I like this one. So so for example, before building, I like to just pick where is it? A rating system, and just pick some sort of per project different usually, because so something, let's say like this, and then you could have, and with most stuff there's like levels of content, so we would know that 1 is started, 2 is finished, 3 is good enough to launch, and if there's like 4, this means very good, ready to rank, and 5 is some sort of God tier mode. That's how I usually work. Then of course other stuff you could add is like drop downs for different statuses. For example, let's say wireframe, right? So there would be started, right? Needs review, approved, something like that. I don't know, depending on what kind of things you would be doing. And let's make some cool colors here to make things simple. So it would be like that, and then and then you can track stuff, right? That's one. And the thing is that with most current software. You can create views for this, you can analyze this data and blah blah. And this doesn't mean like, oh, what's the track here when there's 20 pages? But don't forget that like for a decent website to start ranking, you need like at least like going into 100, like 60, 100 or something like that. So this becomes like a database that you actually need to control it, to come back, to find, to know that it exists, to just copy this link and put it into SEO software and just look at it. It's like, what's happening here, and optimize it, and to find bugs. So that's like the way. All right, so Colin was saying something. Yeah, this interesting sort of showing primary silo. Yeah, well, there is many ways. I cannot go into loads of detail, but I would love to have you here if you want to chat about it and have like particular ideas, because it depends a lot on specific, issue. Because every build, we're building something very, very fast, and very, very just kind of on the spot, right? But yeah, so it could be, there's many ways. Depends on what kind of issue you're trying to solve and what kind of information you're trying to track, right? Also, let's don't forget that if you create all the possible fields that can be there and track everything, then most people will not fill them up, and it's not going to be up to date, and it's going to be hard to keep up to date, and a lot of things happen here, right? But what's happening is with this kind of setup is that the most important part is that you can communicate with your client, your teammates, other people, assign tasks, add checklists, and say, hey, we need to do this and that, and create even not one, checklist, but create multiple, run this through processes. So because this can be turned into a board, now we can suddenly run this through processes. Then you create multiple other, views. You can even use this as a mind map or something, and just create, stuff like sitemap as an actual task for sitemap. And there's multiple ways how you can control this, because you can have a lot of data like attached to it. So it's been an hour. It was awesome. Thanks for those who stayed here. I think we're gonna continue somewhere over here. I haven't touched what this is and how this is important, but also it's a little bit of a side topic. So long story short, just to give a teaser of what we can do one day, and chat with me on Twitter at Search Historian if you want to understand. But basically what it allows us to do is have these kind of pre-made stuff where we can add like replace this with, I don't know, swimming, right? And you just replace that, and then you have and then everywhere in the logic and all the links and stuff, it kind of changes into, these you pre-create kind of types and template stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna show you this next time, guys. Sometime, not necessarily next week, but sometime we're gonna chat about how to kind of structure things like that. So yeah, thanks for everybody who joined in. Thanks for those who are watching this later. This was awesome. Yeah, I was kind of blabbering. If anybody wants to be a guest on the show, just don't hesitate. DM me on Twitter. If anybody has questions, leave it here, or DM me on Twitter, or just leave this when you watch the video or something, because I want this to be as realistic as possible, and that requires examples. So today it was very helpful to me that Jeremy was like, hey, how about we make a fitness coach site? And we did it, right? Kind of, in a way, certain way. So it's easier to have guys around, either live or not live, tossing ideas, because that kind of not necessarily need to rely on past experiences and create this as we go. So that's very helpful. And thanks, Colin, for thank you actually. So thanks for being kind of interested. I think you started digging like an interesting part here, siloing things and putting them into hubs. That's another very big topic. That's why maybe I'm kind of hesitating to even start touching it from certain aspects, because it can be another hour or two easily. So basically how to cluster, how to silo, how to track that. That's the worst part. Like, how do you track it? That's I like this question. So yeah, all right, thanks guys, thanks for joining. See you all next week, same time, same place. Please just attack me on Twitter with any questions or any ideas. Doesn't matter if it's DM or live or whatever, and let's communicate there. And thanks everybody for joining. Thanks Penny for being here for a whole hour, which is so awesome. I think I'm gonna do this again, and next time I might turn this eventually or reshoot this into a video coherently. Hey, this is what content inventory is, but then we might play with this as a concept, because my main goal for the future is to more incorporate this actual, like, hey, we have this case, how we do deal with it. And we try to kind of, so content inventory, from my experience, the sitemap, you saw how fast we kind of put it together. Of course, for sitemap, I do way much more work than that, and there's like harder stuff. So eventually we're gonna try to pull those puzzle pieces, how I see to manage like complex, bigger site projects, that without them, it's hard. So both from beginning and middle, the end is a nightmare on its own. So if you don't plan it from beginning, these kind of things come from nightmares that happen after you have a functioning and ranking site and how to manage it. So yeah, all right. So yeah, so if you want to just DM me on Twitter, I would love to kind of meet or chat, or just you can show up on the show. We can chat about it. Like, or I have to understand better like the question, because from comment it's a little bit harder. You know, these things are complex. One of the main reasons why I moved from Twitter Spaces to more of a video, because it's super sometimes hard to put things in words, but when you start kind of analyzing them, it becomes kind of easier. So yeah, all right, thanks for joining, Maria. Thanks everybody. Thanks for everybody who popped up. It was awesome. See you guys next week. And yeah.